What is the role of an editor for comics? What do you do?
It can differ like from person to person. I'll read through the comic. I start off like just doing like a light editing. If there's dialogue that maybe can be shortened, I'll do that really quick. Or if there's anything misspelled that I catch. And if I have questions about something that I'm reading, I make a lot of notes that go to the person I'm editing for. Some people don't like a lot of notes. Sometimes it's just very rigid and like, okay, I'll help you with your spelling and your punctuation.
You're just dropping it into like Grammarly and
Welcome to the Dastardly Dingoes podcast, a show that celebrates all things nerdy. You'll get an insider's look into the world of comic books, graphic novels, TV and film, gaming and pop culture, as well as the technologies that drive all of it. Now, are you ready to get nerdy?
Welcome to the Dastardly Dingoes podcast, the show about all things nerdy. We discuss nerd news, movies, TV shows, games, comics, and interview the amazing creators who bring it all to life. I'm Brian.
I'm Jeremy.
And brace yourselves, because we're about to get nerdy. All right, this week's guest is such a talented and amazing individual who has been creating in the indie field for quite some time. She has written multiple horror comics, such as her hit series Aeonian, The Last Heist, Psychopath, and much, much more. She's a freelance editor, a podcaster, a hugger of puppies. Ladies and gentlemen, we give you the amazing Stefani Manard.
Oh, thank you. You know, I'm never going on another podcast. That was the best intro.
I'll send you the notes and you can just tell them, be like, every single time you introduce me this way, and that's it.
Yeah. I'm going to put it in my writer. Yeah. I like the way you think.
Yeah. Indeed. Yes, I got you. Oh, so Stefani, how has this good old pandemic been treating you?
Oh, just wonderful. As you can tell from my pandemic hair, it's very, well, you know, I decided to just cut it all off. What's the point?
Yeah.
I'm just sitting around my house. My dogs don't care what I look like. So, you know.
No, and you know what?
All right.
Good. I love the color in your hair too. I'm thinking about doing the same thing with my beard, just different colors, you know.
I was thinking about, you know, how naked my face feels when I'm looking at you two. And I just feel like I need to go like get one of those fake glue-on beards.
Well, you know what? Next time you're on the show, we'll just send you a beard and you can have it on. There you go.
I'll do it.
I'll get it off Amazon or something.
Yeah. I have no shame. Also, my chin's cold, so bonus.
My chin hasn't been cold since 2009. You know. Oh, well, it's good to have you on the show, Stefani. We're really, really glad you're here. What we like to do with everyone when we get them on the show is ask 2 or 3 questions. They're all pretty much the same. The first question is, though, what kind of nerd are you?
Oh, God. I never really thought about it. I guess if I don't know, I do so many like different like niche nerdy things. Like I play D&D. I'm like a trivia nut. I'm into horror. I'm into like computer games and
so you're just the Lord of Nerds.
I feel like I feel like maybe like I'm just like the queen of nerds. Maybe
I like it.
Like the
title.
Is the
title. We are not worthy.
If it's nerdy, I probably do it. And I've even tried playing Magic, but that's really not for me. I'm not very good at it. So I just kind of let that one go. But.
Yeah, a buddy of mine is really into Magic, and he's all the time, he's like, hey, you should get into it. We should play. And I'm like, I can't do it. Like I've tried. I can't get interested in it.
There's a lot going on. My husband is actually, I'm looking at all his Magic cards on our dining room table right now.
Nice.
He has so many. It's like my brain. That's probably why I have this headache, is from all his Magic cards.
It's just information download, but the art's really cool. I mean, you know, I'll give you that for sure.
Yeah, for sure. I'm just not that level of nerdy. I tried, though.
I think I built one deck when I was in high school, and I think... I don't even know where it is anymore. I played, 4 or 5 times with friends that were involved in it. But yeah, I don't know. It seemed like a big money and time suck. So, it just kind of like,
And if you're just like kind of into it, then it's not worth it. But like, if like your husband and my friend, like, if they love it, then it's worth investing. Yeah.
obsession. Hi, puppy. My doggy just came in to say hi. One of
Hello,
them.
doggy.
The littlest one.
Oh, the littlest. How I've seen pictures of your dogs. I've not seen
I
a
know.
little dog. How much does your littlest dog weigh?
She's like 50 pounds. But my
Oh.
other two are, I have an 80-pound dog and then I have a 110-pound dog.
Yeah.
So she's the baby. She's a little, she's the youngest and the smallest.
That's
Albert weighs 12 and a half pounds.
yeah.
I've got a Shih Tzu.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Love all dogs. But I like,
He's
for
great.
myself, big dogs, you know.
Yeah.
See, I love big dogs too. Right now we have 2 cats. Which if they weigh more than 12 pounds, they're in trouble. It's diet time. But one of them was kind of traumatized by dogs, so we can't have a dog while she's with us, and we love her. So, we're hoping she's with us for a long time. But I'm a fan of big dogs too, because I'm a big guy.
Yeah.
And I like Brian-sized dogs. I like snuggling with them. It's great.
Yeah, but I'm the same. Like they have to be at least a decent size so that I can snuggle with them,
Right.
Yeah.
without crushing them. You know?
Exactly. Because
I don't
it's the same thing. Go
Yeah,
ahead.
I don't want to crush anything. I would feel terrible.
Right.
So
Yeah, and go ahead, Jeremy. I'm
sorry.
interrupting everybody.
No, you're good. I was just gonna say sometimes the dog sleeps in the bed with us, and one night I got up to like pee or something, whatever, and then I went back and just kind of, how you kind of just like jump into bed or like, you just kind of like lay down quickly. And then I heard
on Albert.
Yes. I heard like this and I was like, oh God, I'm so sorry. He must have moved or something when I got up. I felt so awful.
You should. You're a terrible human being.
the dog is traumatized now, clearly. I mean,
Yeah.
I'm surprised he stayed with you, honestly.
Yeah.
oh my gosh.
I felt so awful. Yeah. He's so little. All right, Stephanie, next question. What are your top 5 movies?
Ugh, super tough. I've never nailed down like a specific like top 5 favorite because I am a movie lover. I'm a movie junkie. So I have so many, like, I'm always like, oh, this is my favorite movie. No, wait, this is my favorite movie. But if I had to just pick 5 off the top of my head, I would pick The Exorcist, one of the best movies I've ever seen. Amazing. Singing in the Rain, because I mean, love it.
Oh, total
Love it.
polar opposites too. That's great.
I love musicals, man.
Yeah, I love spinning little girls that are possessed with their heads spinning around, vomiting pea soup, and musicals in the rain.
Yes, absolutely, absolutely, I do. Okay, Singing in the Rain, The Exorcist, Natural Born Killers.
All right,
good one.
Best soundtrack of any movie ever, in my opinion. Oh gosh, how about I'll round this out with we'll go with The Witch, because I really love that.
Oh, wow, yeah.
And that's a more recent movie, so it's hard to put it in my top 5, but I just loved it so much I'm going to put it there. Yeah. And then The Never-Ending Story.
All right.
Oh, great.
Yeah.
That's a solid and diverse list.
Yeah.
I like that.
I love movies. I love how they just take you, like you could be having a crappy day and they just take you out of, where you're at in your life, and you can just enjoy like all these other worlds. Same thing with comics, you get to, when you read a comic, you're pulled out of your daily lives, and it's just, sometimes we need that. Escapism is good, man.
Yeah.
Like to a certain degree.
Totally. Well, what about comics? What would your top 5 comics be?
Ooh, see, this is a lot easier for me. Okay. X-Men is like my number 1, and I'm gonna go with like the ones like maybe from like the 90s and 2000s as being like my favorite ones, because it's been ongoing for so long.
So like post Claremont age.
Yeah.
Then. Okay.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
And then I've been Nailbiter is probably the best horror comic that I've read. There's another one that I would say is my top 5 favorite. It's another horror comic. I think it's called Witches.
Okay.
And it's really, really, really good. Most of my favorites are horror. I'm not gonna lie.
Oh, no apologies. This is a safe place, madam.
Yeah.
This is totally fine.
Let's see what else. Tokyo Ghost it was really good. I'm kind of behind on it though right now, so I'm a slacker. It's been a year. We've been home a lot, and I should be caught up on all this stuff, and I'm just not.
It's 2020. Do what you want.
This year is a wash for everyone.
Yeah.
Don't worry.
I just want to hide in my basement until it's all done with.
Yeah.
Don't blame you.
But I'm not going to. I have to feed my dogs and stuff and work.
Yeah.
Let's see. And last, I'm going to go with Float by my friend Howie. It's cool. He wrote it about his anxiety. So it's about this guy's journey through anxiety, and it's really, really good. And I suffer from anxiety and depression. So I read it, and he really took that and personified it in such a way that it was just incredible. I recommend it to anybody, even if you are not anxious or depressed. You know somebody who is, and you can understand it better by reading it. So,
and it's called Gloat.
That's cool.
Is that what you said?
Float.
Okay, cool.
Sorry. Yeah, the aligners. I'm telling you, I don't. Everything sounds funny when I'm talking now. I'm like, oh.
Oh, don't worry about it. I'm doing the opposite. I'm just letting my teeth go crooked, so we're fine. There you go. Oh man. Well, so tell us your story. How'd you get into comics?
Well,
writing them specifically. Sorry.
I've always liked writing. I've always been a writer. Not always a good one, but I tried when I was really young, and I still have some of the stuff that I wrote, and I'm just like, well, 5-year-old me was really giving it a go. Yeah. She was really trying. But I got into writing comics because I started hanging out at conventions and meeting the people that were involved, and I made friends with a lot of them. And I never really knew how to get published other than, you find somebody who wants to publish you, and it always seemed like an insurmountable task. So when I, had been talking with all these people and seeing how they were they're creating their own product and putting it out themselves and marketing themselves. And I was like, well, if all these people can do it and they're doing so well, I'm like, I have to try. If I don't try, and I love comics too, but I never really thought about writing one. It was never I always wanted to be like Stephen King, or Dean Koontz or Clive Barker, or whatever, write novels. But I actually really love writing comics. It's so much fun, and it's a different kind of writing. And I think, because I do write, I write prose still too, but I've been mostly focusing on comics, and I've learned a lot just, by changing, you have to just write differently for each medium. And, but yeah, so it was just, hanging out with other people that were doing it and seeing how awesome they were doing, and being encouraged by such an awesome indie community here in Michigan. I love my people. I love my people here in Michigan so much.
I love your people in Michigan too. I feel like it's so weird because I'm in, both Jeremy and I are both in Louisville, Kentucky, and I feel like my con family is the majority of who makes up my con family are all from Michigan. Really? I'm like, would you just there's such a lot of us. Huge indie presence there. It's insane.
That's cool.
And you guys are great.
Yeah, I've been really, really lucky. Everybody's been so cool and so supportive, and, offering constructive criticism and advice, and just being helpful. And that's what I try to do now for other people. Now that I've kind of got my sea legs, I'm like, okay, it's time to give back.
Yeah.
You know?
That's great, man. That's awesome. We actually had I think you might know him, a guy named Brian K. Morris on the show a few weeks ago.
Yeah, I know him.
Yeah, and his publication and everything he does is called Rising Tide, and it's because it's essentially what you just said, is bringing everybody along with you. Like a rising tide in the ocean. Indeed. No, he's a great guy, and honestly, he kind of personifies that that mentality. So it's really cool to see groups of creators getting together and just kind of lifting everybody up at the same time together. And hey, my success is your success, and we just do this. We're on this journey together, and I love seeing that. And I second that everybody that I've met in that indie Michigan crowd, that's the mentality.
Yeah. Good people.
Yeah. We just got to get back to like actually being able to hang out at conventions and things like that.
I know.
Yeah.
I know.
Can you imagine having like a Zoom conversation with like 35 people? And,
oh my goodness.
You know, like it would just be so miserable. Like be able to go from like booth to booth and talk to people.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. I miss it. We'll get there soon. But, you know, for now, we're just staying safe and you know,
we're making sure we don't die first, and then you know, and
we're gonna make it through till next year so that we can go to conventions.
Yeah,
exactly. Yeah.
I'm curious, like why horror? What about the horror genre appeals to you?
Well, when I was a little kid, I was scared of everything.
All right.
I was very scared. So like I watched, I think it was really little when I saw the first Nightmare on Elm Street. That traumatized me. I was traumatized. I would not sleep on my bed. Like I was convinced Freddy was going to come pull me in, and it was really bad. But I found that you know, as I got a little bit older, and I was always an avid reader, you know, and I'd ride my bike up to the library and I'd get out books, and I found you know, I started like reading R.L. Stine and like Christopher Pike, and
awesome,
you know, and I was like, oh my God, I love, like the movies when I was little were a little too much, but the books, I have a very strong imagination, so for me it was like they just opened up my creativity. And they were stories that I hadn't had access to. Like my mom loves me, but she censored a lot of the stuff that, you know, I had. She's very religious, and you know, there were things like I wasn't allowed to listen to or read, but I would sneak them. So like I read like Everville when I was 12. I should not have been reading that when I was 12, but that book, just from that novel on, it was like I was utterly obsessed with horror because I don't know if you guys have read it.
I've not read it. No, I've heard of it, but I've not read it.
Yeah, it's really good. And what I love about Clive Barker's writing is that, you know, he can write the most foul, filthy, disgusting, you know, murder scene, but he writes these really real, honest characters. And that's what drew me to it. I love how developed they were. And it wasn't just like, oh, we're going to kill off a bunch of people and there's really no plot. It was, you know, like, you know, a lot of the slasher movies I had seen when I was, you know, younger. Right. So
it's all about the humanity. The body count.
Yeah. Seeing, you know, the humanity that's really to be found in horror. You know, if you look past the blood and guts, there's some really great stories that I think people don't give enough credit to. So that's where my obsession with horror began, and it will never end.
That's awesome. And, no, it's actually interesting that you bring up Clive Barker, because I recently watched Nightbreed for the first time, and I hear they're actually about to start a series. I think that just got greenlit as well, which I love, because there was so much story in that movie that just didn't really get touched. And I hated that. And I know there's like there's supposed to be some like mythical, like 4-hour long cut that Clive Barker did that kind of fleshes out everything. But it looks like we're finally going to get, you know, a lot of that in this upcoming series, which makes me really excited. It's such a cool story.
And they need to, considering how many different creatures there are and where all these creatures come from. Their stories are actually really interesting. I read Nightbreed. It's part of, I think it's in one of the books of Blood.
I think the book's called, is it Cabal?
Cabal, yeah. It's, when you read it, you get a lot more background and depth and information on these like particular monsters and their backstories. And I would love to see a show that like focused on that, because again, the humanity and the horror, that's what I look for. So that's what I want to see.
Yeah, it's for those that don't know, what it's kind of the funnest way that I could come up with a description for it is it's like that movie Little Monsters, but for adults.
Yeah,
like a very mature version of that movie.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Accurate.
I can dig it.
I love that. I'm going to use that.
You should. Yeah. There's actually a comic book series of that as well. I don't know if you know that.
I have it. I'm only missing
Fantastic.
like a few issues that I have not been able to find. So I'm constantly trolling on eBay to try to find them, but I'm not going to spend like a ton of money. Like I collect mostly indie comics. Like that's most of my comics are indie. I have a few like Marvel, DC things, but so I'm not going to like break the bank just to get these last three, I'm going to eventually have to sell them. You know how like you just amass a bunch of stuff and you're like, why do I have all this stuff?
Yeah. You look at it, you're like the new, like the half the comics are like, I've never read those and I've had them for 5 years. That's not good.
Like it makes me feel really bad about myself when I see how many comics I have like in graphic novels, like sitting there waiting for me to read. I'm like,
oh yeah, it's like that meme, right? So you got like the stack of books you've never read, but then over there's the new Kickstarter, and you're just like, I need that. And that's me almost every day. It's a problem, for sure.
Yeah.
So Stephanie, you are not just a writer, but an editor as well. So specifically an editor of comics. Walk us through what that looks like. What is the role of an editor for comics? What do you do?
Honestly, it can differ like from person to person. What I typically go into when I'm editing, like what I'll do is I'll read through the comic. Obviously, I've got to read it first. And then I start off like just doing like a light editing, so if there's dialogue that maybe can be shortened, I'll do that really quick. Or if there's anything misspelled that I catch, fix that really quick. And if I have questions about something that I'm reading, like if something isn't clear or whatever, I make a lot of notes, that go to the person I'm editing for. Some people don't like a lot of notes. Some people, it's different. Sometimes it's just very rigid and like, okay, I'll help you with your spelling and your punctuation. Yeah. And they don't want me to touch their story. They don't want me to touch their dialogue. They're just like, let's just make sure this looks right. And I'm like, okay, that's fine. I get it. You're paying me. And if you're okay with how your story is going out, I'm okay with that.
You're just dropping it into like Grammarly and
I'm just like, I'll make sure it doesn't, have like the spelled TEH. You'll be fine. Right. It happens. But then I prefer, and this is just how I've always worked with my own editors. When I work with Leah Letterman, I trust her. So like I've worked with her for years now though. So I think that when you work with an editor and you kind of build that bond with them, you become more trusting with your creation. So like when I give my stuff to Leah, I'm like, Leah, lay it on me. Whatever, like storylines, words, anything. You tell me, boo boo. Let's get this, because I trust her. I trust her so much, and I love working with her. So I prefer to work like that with people because I would never. Like I feel like I'm a trustworthy person with your story. I don't ever want to slash anybody's story down or try to make it my own. It's not about me. It's about making what somebody else, their idea, just be as perfect as it can be. It's not about me. I just want like my client's work to shine, and that's one of the most fun parts about doing editing, because I didn't know if I was actually going to start editing. I kind of made the decision because I'd had some people ask me to do it, and I was like, oh, I don't know. I was like, it was one of my friends. I was like, just send it over. Let me look at it. We'll see. Yeah. And then I ended up doing it, and I really, really enjoyed it. And it actually helps me now, like when I write my own stuff, because it's really hard to edit your own stuff. You shouldn't really.
But you never know. Like you never know if what you're writing makes sense to someone else. Yeah.
Right.
That's the thing. Like, because like with memoirs, like I have two editors. One is making sure the flow is correct and spelling and all that stuff, and then I have another editor who his entire job is to make sure that the world building matches. All the rules that I've already set in place and what I'm, because it's based on, biblical stuff. And that's what I'm kind of using as a springboard for the world that I've been building in that series.
Right.
And my editor has a PhD in biblical studies. So I'm just like, here, tell me if this is stupid and it doesn't make any sense at all. But you need that, you need to be able to check yourself for sure.
Yeah. And it's just now when I give my scripts to Leah, I've noticed that since I started editing, my scripts are a lot cleaner and I barely get notes back. Leah's like, I really don't have anything for you this time. And I'm like, damn, thank you.
That's because you're just so fancy now. Yeah. That's what it is.
I don't know. I think it's just because I really like writing Aeonian, and I think I got it right the first time for the first time. Yeah. I think that's what happened. But
Yeah, I was telling Brian, I went and did, some light Facebook stalking and found your website, and I downloaded is it Global Comics, I think is what Aeonian is through.
That's the website that I'm published through Rocket Ink Studios, and my website right now is kind of a hot mess. I need to change up a lot of links. But yeah, they have it up in a few places that you can download it. And that's one of them.
Yeah. I really enjoyed it. I thought that I was telling Brian, a lot of times in TV shows or comics or things like that, they just dump all of the information on you and then kind of get into this periodical or serial mode. And I felt like yours, they left so many breadcrumbs that you want to find out and will take you into the next one. And so when the last page of issue 2, I'm like, where can I get the next one? And I guess that's a testament to your writing. I have to know what happens next. So
that is the nicest. Thank you so much. Yeah. Most people were cool with me doing that, but I've had a few people go there's just so many questions left after they read the first issue. And I'm like, well, because
this is a job. This is a
series.
I want you to buy the next one.
There's more coming.
I'm like with any great comic should leave you wanting to know what happens next. Even if you do dump a lot of information in a first or second issue, whatever. Yep. As long as there's enough there to it's written well enough that people they just need to know what happens. That's really important. And that's what I look for in the comics I read. Yeah. So I tried to write what I want to read. That's just, I'm not writing it really for anyone else. It's what I want to write. So,
well, it was great.
Oh, thank you so much.
And you have no idea how much that actually means, because Jeremy doesn't read.
Yeah.
I don't say that he's not illiterate, but he was Jeremy cannot read. It is so sad. I think he can, but
I can read.
But no, he hates it. He hates it. Every time I'm trying to get him I get him to read stuff. I'm like, read this. He's like, no, I'll watch a movie if it comes out.
No. I'm trying to get better at it, but I don't know. I think I have such a short attention span that when I sit down, it's like, oh God, there's so many pages.
And that's a good thing about a floppy. It's 22 pages. I can sit down and bust it out, just get it done. And I hate to put it in those terms, but when you have a busy day, you can fit in a 22-page comic. A graphic novel, maybe not. Yeah. There's a lot more going on there, but 22 pages, I got this.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure.
I do a lot of reading. I read articles and things like that on the internet, but it's
I love how you're just trying to prove I can read.
I can read things.
Illiterate.
I read very impressive articles all day long.
Yeah, they're just all short. That's the main thing.
Well, there you go. That's good. See, that'll keep your attention span because they're short and to the point.
Yep. Well, something that this question, I'm really excited to be able to ask this, because as a fellow audio editor and podcaster, I'm just, I want to kind of geek out. What got you into doing podcasts? And I guess tell us about some of the ones that you've done.
Well, I think I started podcasting, I think just like kind of the same way everybody else did. It was me and a bunch of my friends sitting around. We were talking like my nerd group, like we were playing like D&D or something. And so we were talking about like D&D and like we thought we were so smart and clever and like, oh my God, we're so funny. Like we have to start a podcast, you guys. That is totally how it started. I'm not lying.
I love it. Just pure ego. Everyone must know our knowledge.
Yeah. I mean, and gosh, I've been podcasting longer than I've been writing. Like, wow. I mean, I guess I should say officially writing because I was writing at the time, but I was doing articles for websites. It wasn't like, I hadn't done comics or anything yet. So we started doing that. And through that, I had an opportunity open up to take on a show for a publisher. They wanted me to interview like indie creators. And so I started doing a ton of interviews because that was at the time I was going to conventions and meeting all these people and getting into writing. So I started working with them. And then I kind of branched off to do my own thing. And I started a show called The Way Station, which my co-host is my friend Megan Sarnowski. She had a baby a year and a half ago. So we really have not done anything in the last year and a half. I kind of sporadically will do like little mini interviews and throw them up there, but so
she's embarked on a big adventure, right?
Yeah. I'm like the only one of my friends who doesn't have a kid. So I have 3 dogs though, so I feel like that should count for something. But
3 dogs equal 1 human.
Maybe, so I started doing that show with my best friend Megan, and then that branched off into a couple other shows. So like now I'm doing my show specifically. Every other Friday I do another page turner with Tom Hutchinson of Big Dog Inc., where we co-host that and we talk about like Kickstarters and comics and like everything that has to do with work, like convention work stuff. And movies and stuff occasionally, but we try to just like share information for like people that are trying to break in and do indie stuff. So we do that. And then I have a newer one that I started called 15 Minutes of Mame, where I do a 15-minute show where I review 4 horror movies. Like just not a deep dive, just enough to like for short attention span people.
There you go.
15 minutes, 4 movies.
Kind of show. Yeah.
There you go, Jeremy.
I'm going to be recording some new episodes of that on Friday. And then I do Shot of History. That's my other main, where I'm a host. And that we've been doing that now for almost 4 years. And it's a history podcast, but we drink. So
awesome.
That's awesome. Is it like drunk history essentially?
No. It isn't.
That's such a great show. I love it so much.
No, it isn't. And I have to be very clear on this because people always ask me that. I'm like, no, it isn't. Okay, yes, we drink while we do the show. Now, on Drunk History, what they do is they take these celebrities and they have them like read over a story, and they're like they keep giving them alcohol, giving them alcohol, giving them alcohol, and then they'll film them after they're inebriated and they've gone over the story like 10 times. We do our shows in one take. We don't edit anything out. We do our own research. So we are, actually doing like, it's all research that is backed by, scholars and, so it's legitimate.
It's real history, not just for fun.
I've learned so much from that show though. Like,
and it essentially we want to just make it like accessible to people who don't really like history. And so, we crack jokes and we make it fun, but the basic, like the knowledge you're getting is legitimate. So we just have so much fun. I gotta tell you, I love those guys. I've learned so much just from doing the show, and we're going to be recording another set of shows. I think we're recording everything for the rest of the year next weekend, because we'll just sit down. Our shows are about 20 to 30 minutes, and we'll just crank them out on Zoom, and then I like set them up to go out every week.
Nice.
And so it's kind of cool. By the end of the show, we're all really drunk though.
So by the end of the show, it's kind of like drunk history.
Right. So, we start the first few shows, we sound pretty sober, no big deal. And then all of a sudden it's just whoosh.
It's like season finale. All right.
It's fun. We enjoy ourselves.
Oh, that's great.
but I love podcasting. I think, it's such it's fun. Like, I love just, getting to talk with people, like sitting here talking with you guys. And, it's not for everybody. And if you're doing it to try to make money, then maybe you shouldn't do it, because that's not what it's really for.
If you're doing it to make money, get used to disappointment, because that's not going to happen. At least not at first. It'll be a while if that ever happens.
Exactly. But I love podcasting. I think, I've always been pretty shy, and this is kind of how I started coming out of my shell. And now you couldn't put me back in my shell if you tried. And some people want me to go back in, and I'm like, no.
Like, I am out and I am happy. I am here. Yes. Oh man. No, I've actually I love, like, obviously I was about to say I love 2020 for this reason. I'm going to reword that. 2020 is an awful dumpster fire that I wish it would go back to hell. But a silver lining in all of the awful toxic waste chaos is that so many different people are doing podcasts, they're doing shows, via Zoom, and so many people are connecting in ways that they normally wouldn't, because they're forced to do this. And you would think that would bring like an oversaturation, but it really doesn't, because everybody has their own voice and their own opinions and their own personalities. And so it's just a really cool thing that's happening this year, that I really hope it stays. I hope people continue to do this. And I think it probably will, honestly.
Yeah, I think we learned a lot this year about, how we do things, especially like, I have my part-time job, but I make my money off of my writing. Well, like 90% of my money that I make every year is going to conventions and selling. I mean, I do sell a decent amount online, but not being able to go to conventions really like put a dent in my business at first, because I had to adjust, and figure out a new way to get my stuff out there to people, and to be able to get, it's more exciting, I feel like, when we're in person talking about, like, check out my new comic, and people can hold it in their hand and they're like, woo. Now we're just like, it's pretty cool. You can't touch it or anything, but you could just buy it. Maybe. Right. I don't know.
Just give it a
you can zoom on your screen.
Yeah. I think
like page 2.
We've had to kind of to learn how to change our game in a lot of different ways. And I think it's a good thing in that sense, just because now we know how easily like that one revenue stream can go away, and to really diversify like how you reach people. I know it's such a business word, but it's so true. It's true. Diversifying your portfolio or whatever. But it's good. It's good to have more than one avenue. And, I definitely learned a lot this year.
And I think, like, honestly, the interactions that I've had at least have been more meaningful, because like, it's not the like water cooler talk, because we don't go into an office, you know what I mean? So like all the, someday, like nobody cares about that anymore. Like, and I feel like that was like normal interaction. And now like, well, you've got to schedule a time and get on Zoom, or, like go to the place where these people are that you want to talk to virtually. And I think that kind of, it creates like a barrier for entry, that like stupid stuff that doesn't matter is not worth my time turning on a camera and pointing it at my face. Right. Does that make sense?
Yeah. No, absolutely. We're now more to the point. We're not like, BSing and wasting time, which, I mean, small talk has its, place, but yeah, I'm more of a deep talker. Like I want to talk about things that matter.
Yeah.
Personally, that's just, I like learning about people and getting to, the matter at hand, and small talk is all right, but
yeah, small talk has its place for sure. I mean, you can, get to know somebody. Big, deep conversations can start from small talk, over a week, week or two of, consistently doing small talk with a person. You get to know them a little bit, and that leads to bigger things. But no, yeah, I agree. It is this whole how we've had to adjust has definitely made us, get more to the point, get more to what's important, and kind of reassess, who's important as well, who's, and not you're prioritizing people, but I mean, it is like, who means the most, who am I going to give most of my time to in this season, where that's precious right now.
Yep.
So
it really is.
Yeah.
Pardon me.
Oh, you're fine.
Little frog there. I swallowed it earlier and it tried to come back up. So
How
I don't
dare
know.
it? How
Rude.
dare it? Yes.
That was my lunch.
Delicious.
I don't really eat frogs, y'all. It was a joke.
I believe you. I think you do. I think it's
you and David Blaine. Have you seen him swallow the goldfish and then reproduce it? You know what I'm talking about, David Blaine.
Yeah.
A magician.
Yeah.
Like Jimmy Fallon, I think, and he drank and swallowed like a goldfish, I believe it was, and the guys from Roots are all around, and they're like, "What the heck?" And he just brings it back, brings it back up. It's
throws it up,
but it's
That's
not.
gross.
He doesn't throw it up. It just it's not there, and then it is there, and he just kind of spits it back into the cup. It's so weird.
He's a weird dude too.
Yeah,
man.
he is.
He's a strange guy. My favorite thing he ever did was when Harrison Ford, he was in his house. He did something with an orange, and Harrison Ford's like, "Get out of my house."
Yeah.
It's like, I can't handle this.
That was such a good show that he did. The one that you're talking about. He also stabbed something through his hand in front of it was Woody Harrelson and Kanye West, two people that you would not there, but they're apparently neighbors. And they were just over at one of their houses, and he just comes over and just jabs this ice pick through his hand, and they're like, "What the heck?" It's he's crazy.
Oh man,
I don't know what got me on that. We can cut all this out. It's fine.
It's fine. Oh man. So with this next question, I'm gonna go a little fancy on you. What literary pilgrimages have you gone on in your life that have brought you? I know, right? Isn't it fancy? Because writers, they'll go on retreats. They'll do and you don't even have to physically go anywhere. You can go to your backyard and mentally check out. But in any time in your life, have you ever just had this moment where you went somewhere that was really inspiring and it just sparked a plethora of pages?
Unfortunately, I have not. I want that more than anything, to just be inspired by a place or, have that journey. I've never really had that. I really do kind of want to go to Providence and do the whole Lovecraft Country thing, because I think that, he wasn't a great human, but he is one of my favorite writers. And I think, going to places like that, or, going to the Edgar Allan Poe Museum, or going to places where you're kind of seeing more about the people who inspired me to write.
Yeah.
I think that that's a dream. I would love to do something like that, but I've just been so busy.
I understand.
My last vacation was a year ago, and it was just up north to go see our friends up in Traverse City. I don't get out of the state much, unless it was for conventions or whatever, but now all that's gone. So
right.
Maybe when this is all over, I'll tell, maybe I'll come back with a really good pilgrimage story. But
well, there you go. There's your homework. Yeah. No, you're good. No, I really haven't either. And that's one of the reasons actually why I wanted to ask the question. Because I think you hear Neil Gaiman, when he wrote American Gods, he did the road trip across America, and it's all this really cool, stuff that inspired him to write this book. And I'm like, man, that sounds so impressive. And I just wonder how many people have actually had that type of experience. And that's why I added in the notes, physically or mentally. Cause I know, if you could lock yourself in a room and start writing and just kind of get swept away. But But no, so yeah, there you go. That gives us something to aspire to.
I know. I have hope for the future.
That's what we do here at the Dastardly Dingoes, folks. We just give people hope for the future.
Yes.
That's what the show's all about.
We've talked about a lot of things that you've written, whether it be books or comics or things like that. And we've talked about your love for the horror genre. What has been the hardest scene for you to write? Whether that's like, something emotionally difficult or there's a lot of, you're having to describe a lot of action or, things like that. What's been the hardest?
Well, I already have this was a hard one for me. I wrote a story for Cafe Macabre, which is through Source Point Press, that Leah Letterman, my editor, put together. And it started off a completely different story than what it ended up, being published, because I had a cat that I got when I was like a teenager, and he was my first pet. I've always been an animal lover, but like we were poor, so we didn't have pets growing up because we could barely afford to feed ourselves and have a roof over our heads. So I was in heaven when I got this cat, right?
Yeah.
And he died a few years ago, and it was very hard for me. And I know sometimes people don't get it, and that's fine. Yeah. People don't understand. I'm deeply emotional. And if I connect with an animal or a person or a place, whatever, I feel it really, really hard. And so I ended up processing that through this story. And it was an extremely emotional thing to write. And actually the story that I'm writing for the next Cafe Macabre is also dealing with another traumatic experience that I had in my life that I'm trying to turn into art. I'm taking that trauma and that sadness and that craziness and trying to turn it into art. It is a good way to process that stuff. But it was really, it was hard to write it because, it's obviously fiction, but if you read it after hearing what I just said, you'd be like, okay, I get how that would be emotional and so it was difficult, but I think it was a necessary evil, to kind of just write it out and do it in such a way that hopefully it entertained other people. And I felt better after I wrote it. So
that's great. And I think that's awesome that you could do that. I recently started writing a new series called The Nebulizer, and that was it for me as well. I have asthma. I've had severe asthma my whole life, and that was this crazy apocalyptic action adventure is all about an asthmatic in a nebulizer suit that's doing crazy stuff during the apocalypse, and it's keeping him alive because he has asthma. And I found that was the way to process, all of this stuff that I've gone through my entire life. But I love that's the book that you brought up, because I have that book and I haven't had a chance to read it yet. So now I will. It'll go up on the top of the stack next. So yeah, cool.
Yeah, that's a great book. I enjoyed being a part of it. And I was so happy they asked me to do another one for the next one. I'm like, really? You want me back after I felt like I traumatized people with my story a little bit, but they liked it. So I guess I'm writing another one.
Well, it's Cafe Macabre, so there you go.
It's all women in horror, so it's going to be.
I love it.
It's a little dark, but I mean, it's a horror book. Come on.
Good. That's what it's supposed to be. That's awesome. No, I thought that was so cool that you all got together and did that. And I love that you're doing it again. I didn't know there was going to be another one. That's fantastic.
Yeah, I don't know if I was supposed to say that, but we can edit this part out if you're not. So let us know. I'll ask Leah. I'll just let her know. I let it slip.
Yeah,
it's been in production for 6 months, so it's not like it's just I'm pretty sure it's okay to talk about, but you never know. I don't want to step on anybody's toes. There's always that chance.
Yeah, we don't want to get you in trouble. So yeah, just let us know. No problem.
I already wrote the story. It cannot be fired now. Okay, I already did the damn work.
Oh, that's awesome. So okay, if you could turn the clocks back and tell your younger writer self anything, what would it be?
That's a hard one. I don't know. I wouldn't want to give any like spoiler alerts, you know? I kind of feel like younger me kind of fumbled around and figured herself out in the right way. And maybe just don't, like, just to continue on, like always write. Don't ever stop writing, I guess. I mean, that's really the only thing that I would say. I have no other advice. Just keep writing. You'll be fine, young Stefani. I think that all the things that I kind of like went through in my life and like the situations, I wouldn't change them, even though they weren't all great, but they made me who I am. And I came out the other side just fine. And I think, you know, kind of fumbling around all those years without this knowledge was probably a good thing. I think it taught me a few things. So
yeah, it's like going back in time. You might hurt something and you won't end up being who you are now.
Exactly.
Yeah. No, I get that. I understand that completely, because even the negative things, like you said, it creates who you are now. All the good, bad, ugly, everything. And yeah, I think that's a great perspective to have, actually.
Yeah, I think too many people are like waiting until they can do the perfect thing. You know what I mean? Like, until you write the perfect story or you draw the perfect picture. But I think, like Brian, I can tell over the course of each of your books, the progression that you've made as an artist. You know what I mean? Not saying that the first ones were terrible or anything like that.
The first issue is rough, man.
You sucked.
But it's neat to see that progression. And I think if you decided, you know, well, this isn't right, and you spin your wheels on issue 1, trying to make it perfect, you know, instead of just finished. I think a lot of times you just finish it, put it out there.
Yeah.
Maybe it sucks, maybe it doesn't suck, but you know, yeah, I think that's better.
Well, and you know, I do too. I think that, you know, if it's that old, you know, saying, finished, not perfect, you know, is essentially what you just described. And it's very true, is just produce and do the best you can where you're at.
Yeah.
And then get it out there and then grow. And no matter like, you know, no matter where you are, how good you are, you will 10 years from now, if you're doing what you're supposed to be doing, you will look back 10 years ago and see, wow, I've grown so much, no matter where you start.
Yeah.
For sure. And that goes for art, writing, you know, podcasts, whatever.
Yeah.
Life.
Anything. Yeah. Seriously, you know, and like my first comic that I put out, I mean, I'm proud of it because I wrote it and I made it happen, but it's not my best writing. And I know that. I can look back and go, okay, but I can see every comic and everything I've written since has just been better and better. And that's all. I mean, like you said, just do it. Doesn't have to be perfect. If you never do it, you'll never know how good you can be at it. You never know where you can go with it. So
absolutely,
just gotta do it.
Yeah,
that's right. Do what the lady says, folks. Just go do it.
The next question I think we've got for you is, what are some of the common traps for aspiring artists and creators?
Oh, not thinking you're good enough. I think that, you know, I think a lot of people have a lot of they're so talented and they either don't think that they're good enough or they don't know how to go about putting it in front of the right people, or, you know, putting themselves out there in a way that could, you know, getting into self-publishing, or, you know, it's difficult. I mean, that's what held me up for so long. I think I would have been writing, you know, and trying to publish stuff when I was like 15 if I knew I could just do it myself, you know? Yeah. So I think, you know, we have our own barriers personally. Like I said, a lot of us have like imposter syndrome. Yeah. We don't I feel that. And it's like, even when I am excited about what I'm writing and I think it's really good, I still feel like I'm like out of my league sometimes. I feel like it's not good enough. And I think that goes, I mean, you shook your head, Brian, or, you know, you nodded. So I know it's a very common feeling.
Oh, for sure.
And it's a hard thing. I think when I write something and then I have some people read it, you're really putting a big part of yourself out there to be flogged, to just be crapped on. Like, you don't know, you know, people could respond really good Or they can just be like, you are trash. So like when you open yourself up like that, it's really raw. So I think a lot of times people are afraid of that too, of people, telling them they're not good enough or telling them they're garbage, not even just good enough. Like you're just trash. So, and that's like the first barrier, I think, that you have to get over, the first hurdle. Yeah. And then, if you want to learn about, like, I feel like right now is a really good time because we are all at home. We're all just kind of hanging out. And a lot of people, like with my podcast, Another Page Turner, this is what we talk about. We talk about how you self-publish, how to hire artists, how to, like different, corners of the industry. And it's indie comics. We're not talking about, the big two. We're not, anybody can get into indie comics. It is really easy. Yeah. You just have to have the desire, the drive, and some raw talent. Like you got to have, bring some talent to the table, and everything improves as you keep working, So, we just got to get over like that voice in our head that says we're not good enough, get over the fear of putting ourselves out there in front of people, and then, just figuring out how to go about it. I think those are the three biggest things, in my opinion.
Well, I was going to ask, I was going to ask you how to overcome some of those traps, but it sounds like your other podcast answers, at least the one about how to get yourself out there. So what is it called again?
It's called, pardon me, Another Page Turner. And it's anywhere you find podcasts. Sure. We're everywhere. Okay. But I mean, the main thing I normally would say, like for people that want to learn about, self-publishing, go to a convention. Normally I would say go to a convention and talk to either like, one of the small press booths like Source Point Press or, any small press, or just anybody that's there with their own table. They clearly, are
They've
doing
done it. Yeah.
So, and you can approach these people online too. Like I always tell people, like, if you have questions, even if it's something you think is stupid, my card is my email, my personal email that I use every single day. I'm like, just email me. I don't, whatever. Yeah. We should try to help each other out. So I think right now, since there aren't conventions, if people have any publishing questions, seek out creators on Facebook and Instagram. And a lot of times, at least in my experience, people are really nice and they really are helpful. Yeah. You friend them and just say, hey, do you have time to answer a couple questions? And there you go. I mean, that could be your opening.
Yeah. Yeah. No, for sure. I mean, I've had people, reach out to me even recently for that kind of stuff. And I'm like, I've not been doing this very long. But you see somebody who's doing it, regardless of how long. And, most of the time, especially the indie creators, like I've done exactly what you just said. I've reached out on Facebook to different people and just picked their brain. I've tried not to be annoying, so I go to multiple people so that I'm not just attacking one person. But everybody that I've come into contact with has been very, very helpful. They may not get right back with you in a day or two, but eventually you'll get an answer, and they're really helpful and really nice, and they'll point you in the direction. Yeah. I would say 9 times out of 10 that's been my experience. For sure. But it's interesting when you brought up imposter syndrome. Eventually, we will have an episode just dedicated to that here, because it is such a plague.
Yeah. It is so real, and it is so deadly.
Oh, man, it really is. Like I caught myself just the other day, like when I just launched a Patreon, and I was like, why am I doing this? I don't, this is, I felt those feelings, and my wife was just like, stop, like, you have readers, you have fans, do it. And I did it, and we've got patrons, and to my absolute unbelief, but that in and of itself, like that, there's a difference between being humble and what imposter syndrome does to you, where you think you're not good enough, that you don't belong here, and that is just utter crap. Like, if you have a story to tell, no matter what it is, no matter who you are, you have a place here. You have a place at this table. Your art
and your work is valid. Yes. It's not everybody else and not you. That's not how this works.
Right.
Yeah.
Every time rude.
Yeah, man.
Rude as heck.
Every time I hit render on any video that I make, it's just like, God, this is so stupid. Every single time. And I have to fight that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it is interesting. Like literally, almost every single one of us feel the exact same way, no matter what we're doing. Like we put something out there, like you said, it's like, oh gosh, here we go.
Yeah. That feeling in the pit of your stomach, like whoa.
Yeah.
This is eating you alive slowly.
Yeah. I'm fine though. This is good.
Yeah, we're good. It's like that meme with the dog in the fire.
Yeah.
Everything's fine.
Yeah.
We're fine.
Good. We're so good.
So Stephanie, you've talked about, kind of your inner circle of creator friends. And you've touched on this a little bit, but specifically, how has your inner circle of creators challenged you and made you a better writer and a storyteller?
Oh man. Well, by putting out really high bar stuff. So I'm reading their stuff and I'm like, okay, if I'm hanging out with these people and I can't put something out that's at least this good, what am I doing here? I'm like, dang it.
Yeah.
But we just talk about stuff and my friends have read everything. I mean, I have some people that I've been friends with since I started doing this that have read literally everything that I've written and have given me constructive criticism, notes, being helpful and, just having the knowledge that these people have and that they're willing to share it and to be honest with me, which I appreciate. I'm pretty tough.
Mm-hmm.
You'd have to say something really mean to me, for me to get upset about it. Especially when it comes to things that I create, because even though it is special and personal to me, I have no hubris about it. It's I love that I'm doing this, but you know what? If something isn't working right structurally, or if there's something wrong with the story, lay it on me. I'm not afraid of criticism.
Yeah.
So I've just been really lucky, I guess. I think I kind of fell in, it was just the right timing for everything. I fell in with these really cool, friends and they were just so awesome. And it was the right time for me to be able to create. It was the right time for them to have time to help me out.
Yeah.
So I didn't fall in my face. Yeah. So they're just, helpful. And also, like I said, putting out really great stuff that I got to match it. I can't be the lamest kid at the table. That can't happen.
Right, yeah. It's a little bit of friendly competition happening. You're like, oh, wait, hold on. You did that? Yeah. All right, give me a minute. Hold my beer. Yeah.
Right.
Oh, that's funny. All right, Stephanie, if you could put the Stefani Manard twist on any existing movie or comic, what would it be and why?
Ooh, that's a hard one. I don't know if I have one for this. And let me tell you why. I mean, there are movies and things that I've seen that I'm like, it would be a little bit better if they just did this or they did that. But then I think that it loses something also too. It's that person's creative endeavor. And so I always feel kind of crappy going poo-pooing on it, saying, but if it was just for friendly, friendly, fun, I would take something like Blood Diner, which is like a piece of, it's just so horrible, right? But I love it. I'm not even I love it. It's so bad, it's good. Yeah. So I'm not trying to insult it. I'm actually giving it airtime right now, so I'm doing them a favor.
Yeah.
I take something like that had the potential to be a really maybe just a notch better, and just rewrite the script. I really want to rewrite that script so bad. It was so bad.
Yeah.
So bad. Just let me in there, guys. Yeah. People don't talk like that. They don't talk like that. It's just people don't talk like that. Yeah. So I think that ultimately that would be the one thing that I'd love to do is just get in there and rewrite that script, because it is campy and it has the potential to be really, really funny. Yeah. But it is still campy, but the dialogue is so bad that it's funny for all the wrong reasons.
It's like Birdemic.
Yeah,
Oh man!
And trust me, I love me some B movies. I love me some C movies. I love crappy movies, but they have to have the right amount of being playful and knowing how bad they are.
Yeah. I get that for sure.
Yeah. I did not hit her. I did not.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh, hi, Mark.
That gets quoted around here a lot.
Dude. Yeah.
I rewatch it every year.
It's so good. Man,
it's hard to watch, but I keep watching it. Like, I don't know why I do this to myself, but I have to keep watching it. Once or twice a year, you got to watch The Room.
I heard about it probably, I would say, like 5 years ago, and I found it and watched it. And it was late at night. I couldn't sleep, and so I was just sitting there on my phone watching it. And I'm like, what is happening?
Did you know that it was one of the, it was it's so bad it's good kind of movie? Oh, okay, good.
Yeah, but that one gets it so perfect.
Yeah,
it hits right in the dead center of that cross section of bad and funny and gosh.
Yeah,
but I was so confused.
He's lucky.
Yeah, for sure.
He really is lucky on that one because it is, because it was clearly not intentional to be funny, but somehow,
well, in his own head, if you've watched interviews with him, he's convinced he's a genius.
Yeah,
he knows his stuff is the best that's ever been.
Yeah,
I'm just that's some confidence, buddy. But
good for him. I wish I could be delusional.
Yeah.
I wish I could be delusional.
He's the only artist that doesn't have imposter syndrome.
Yeah. He's like, I am amazing.
Yeah.
However, I don't know if you guys have seen his audition for the Joker. It's on YouTube. What? If you haven't seen it, find it. He essentially does all the lines from Heath Ledger's Joker. It's just him doing an audition tape as the Joker in Heath Ledger's makeup. And it is golden. It is.
Is that on YouTube?
Yeah. Go do
it after. Yeah.
Super done.
Do it.
We got to wrap this up.
Yeah. I got something on YouTube. I got to watch you guys.
My priorities just shifted. I'll see you later. Oh man. Well, Stephanie, thank you so much for being on the show. We'll have to have you back on for sure. Because you are now, madam, an honorary dingo.
Yep.
Be nice to you.
Oh,
you are indeed. So you can come on the show and talk about whatever you want, whenever you want. It is free reign. So thank you for being here. And for one final time, let everybody know where they can find your work.
You can go to my website. It needs to be updated, but the links to everything are still functional, but not everything's on there. StefaniManard.com. Or you can, I have stuff up on Amazon through Rocketing Studios and on Comixology, pretty much anywhere that you can download books. I've got stuff there. So whatever's easiest for you. If you want to check it out, I don't know.
Yeah. Cool. Are you on social media at all?
I am. Facebook and Instagram are both Stefani Manard. Just my first and last name. Easy to find.
Awesome.
Fantastic.
Cool.
Well, thank you again. And everybody, thank you all for tuning into the Dastardly Dingoes podcast. Remember to hit like, subscribe, and share with your friends. And hit that bell so you can get notified when there's a new episode that drops. So, as always, have fun, be safe, and hug a puppy, for goodness sake. See you guys next time.
See ya.